It will. And not only will it move, but it will gain steam and it will become, we think, a big bad hurricane. Now we're looking at some wind gusts down around the area, and the only area that we've got kind of in the central Caribbean is that buoy there, and it's not really registering anything significant, which is fine. The storm was up to about 50 miles an hour. Then, as the recon flight was in yesterday, kind of downgraded it. Let's look though, and this morning's recon flight. There we go. This morning's recon flight is finding, we think, a little bit of a stronger storm. Did find a 54 mile per hour wind gust just a little bit ago, or a sustained wind of 54 miles an hour, I should say. If we kind of back it up just to see. So surface wind 48, 54. There's the 54. So that's what they found while they were flying at 5,000 feet, but they found it down at the surface. Dan's asking, I heard reports of several eyes. True question mark? It does not have an eye. It is weak. Look at the satellite presentation. There's no eye. It is a ragged system, Dan. It's not. It's kind of an area that's got some dry air entrained in on it, and so because of that, this has not become a hurricane yet. This has not developed an eye yet, right? So keep that in mind, okay? When you say you've heard that there were several eyes, that also goes to my biggest concern, which is hype. There's just so much hype when it comes to tropical weather. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. So anyway, that's where we're at. Okay. So watching the storm system, there are no eyes that have formed yet, nor do we expect there to be for at least a little while. Now, this is the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center. Here, I'll give it a different look. This is the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center, and it can be somewhat confusing. So let's just take it through time. So essentially, storm system is a tropical storm, becomes a hurricane, we think, and then becomes a very strong hurricane. So that's the line, that's the pathway. Okay, so Sunday 1 p.m. is this tick mark. Winds are at 115 miles an hour. Tuesday 1 a.m. is this tick mark. These boxes line up to the lines, right? So this line here is the end. That's Wednesday 2 a.m. Winds are at 140, and basically it's somewhere we think in here. Okay, so it's a tropical storm through today. Then we think this weekend it starts that rapid intensification process and becomes a major hurricane. Major hurricane being a category 3 or greater. Now, there's a lot to this storm system, and certainly there's going to be plenty that we need to watch together. Okay. Not because it's coming here. Frankly, I'm grateful to see that the models continue to show that it's not coming here. So, being that I am like the anti-hype. I hate hype. So let's just look at the grand ensemble plot. This is the 00Z ensemble runs. So this is last night's grand ensemble. It's going to take a while because it's 12Z now. So we're starting to get the new ensembles in now. And we'll be able to update this. But I want you to notice out of 360 ensemble members, okay, let's just look. There is one that is bringing the center of the storm to Florida. Okay. So when we see hype online, I always say this, know who the heck you're listening to. Okay. Um, GFS and European, if we're just isolating those ensembles, none of them, right? So it's one of the other ensembles that is approaching Florida, but again, it's an outlier. So when we look at the ensemble, remember, when it comes to tropical weather, the ensembling is the best way to understand what we're tracking here, okay? Very, very important to understand the threats. Very, very important to understand how this plays out. So, how does the timing of this work, okay? So, here's Tropical Storm Melissa's current position 8 a.m. Friday. Intermediate advisory came in, All right? Through time, Category 1 hurricane, that's 2 o'clock Saturday. So from now to Saturday, it is a tropical storm. Saturday afternoon, we anticipate that this does become a hurricane. Okay? All right. Now, that little island there, just north, is Jamaica. And this morning, I made a Facebook post just with the cone, and I was like, folks in Jamaica need to try to get out. And, some people were like, well, that's tone deaf. They can't get out. Okay. Well, but as a meteorologist, I still need to say it. If people have the means, if people can get out, they need to. Because this is a tropical storm now, but it's not going to stay a tropical storm. This is going to become a big bad hurricane, and it's going to do so, we think, very quickly. Okay? So watch through time, and we're going to continue. Category 2 storm. Category 3, look at how quick. Category 3 by Sunday afternoon, due south of Jamaica. And if that is the positioning, and remember, we call it the cone of confidence because that's where we're confident the storm will go. That keeps Jamaica on the right side of what will be Hurricane Melissa. And the right side, the right front quadrant in specifics, the right front quadrant is the absolute worst side. That's where you've got the majority of the torque, the majority of the spin, the majority of the shear. So that's clearly a concern, right? All right. Category 4, early Monday. Category 4, early Tuesday. That's keeping Jamaica, by the way. That's keeping Jamaica in that right quadrant. So now you're looking at, let's back this up and just do some calculations. We're going to get into some individualistic model data. So this is putting Jamaica Sunday morning through Tuesday morning with the potential of hurricane conditions. Now, the specificity of their impacts are going to heavily depend on how close the storm gets to the island there, right? But rain is a very, very significant concern. Then by Wednesday, it makes a hard right turn and works over toward Cuba. Okay? Now, the rain. Let's just talk about the rain. And we'll get into some more, but this is just a quick and dirty look at the European model, and we can look at the GFS, we can look at all that stuff. But look at some of these rainfall ideas. This is going to be through Thursday. All right, so through the model run, okay? Jamaica. Let's just go to Jamaica for a second here, okay? For Jamaica, the purples to deep purples, you're talking about 1.5 to 2 feet of rain. Clearly, that is a bad situation. Very bad situation there, right? Look at the Dominican Republic and Haiti. It has shifted as the model guidance has shifted, but we're still talking about some spots. The north side of the island, 1 to 2 inches, nothing very significant. The south side of the island, 6 inches to a foot possible. Look at Cuba. Okay, look at the difference here in Cuba, right? The western side, based on current guidance, nothing significant. The eastern side of Cuba, though, you're talking about a significant rain event there. And again, we really look at the ensembles to get an idea of where it all goes. And that's where Tomer did such a great job with this grand ensemble. It gives an idea in percentages of like where this stuff's going to be going, right? So it's something to it's just something to watch very closely. All right. I don't love what I'm seeing, but nevertheless it is what it is. So let's do this then. We're going to switch over and we're going to look at the raw model data here. And we're going to do so kind of with some close and analysis, okay? Let's see here. Ba, ba, ba. Trying to think of the best ways to do this. That's Puerto Rico. Give me a few seconds. I'm looking for views. We may not have. Yeah, I think this is probably going to be the best view we have. We've got this view. Got this view. I'm just trying to find the closest view I can. Yeah. That's the Bahamas. All right, so this is going to be the best view I can give you. All right, awesome. Not awesome, but it is what it is. Because that's the Greater Antilles. I mean, the Greater Antilles, that's probably going to be the best view I've got. All right, the Greater Antilles view. All right, so let's look at wind. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop up the gusts. Perfect. All right. So let's look at some of this data together. All right. So this is the GFS, the most recent run of the GFS. All right. And what's first off, the GFS, may I also add, has been a complete, the deterministic GFS at least, has been a complete outlier, avoiding Jamaica and just going mainly over toward the Dominican Republic, Haiti, and Cuba, right? Like there, it kind of look at how the GFS, and again, this is the GFS deterministic, but watch how the GFS goes right between Jamaica and Hispaniola, and then hard right, and kind of goes by Guantanamo, and then over toward the Turks Caicos as isn't that something, right? As a storm system producing 115, 120 miles an hour. So the GFS is definitely going to be a bit different than the other models. All right, that's the GFS. Let's look at the European together here. All right. Bottom left corner. And here, I'll do this, but I'll take out the little inset box because we want to see bottom left corner. So there's the winds. So watch how this, and again, this is the deterministic Euro. It's keeping the worst of the winds off of Jamaica until it doesn't, right? So it's keeping the storm nearby, and that's going to be soaking them. And I'm just playing this backward for the moment. But forward, gusty winds Sunday, according to the Euro. That's gusty winds Monday. And then Tuesday is when the Euro has the hurricane going right over. That's 109. These are knots. Um, what you're looking at is not wind in miles an hour. So like that 109 you see on the eastern side of the island, 70 over at the western side. So those are not. So you're talking about 125, 130 mile an hour versus like 90 miles an hour on the eastern side. And then it crosses there, crosses Cuba, and that's as far as the European deterministic goes. Right? All right. So that's the European. Let's look at the Canadian model, which yesterday the Canadian was an outlier and everybody was going crazy with it. And it still very clearly looks like an outlier. Go to the wide Caribbean view just to kind of get an idea of what it's doing. We'll go back to miles an hour. Yeah. All right, go back. Let's look at the UK Met. UK Met keeping it weak and then strengthening it, and then that's the end of it. Okay, got it. Really, thanks for your contribution. All right, the icon. The icon's a lot more like the GFS, staying on the eastern side of Jamaica, but keeping it weak. I don't really see it doing weak. This thing really wants to get strong. And the reason that we have such confidence is because the dynamics are all there. And when we look at the intensity models, and I'll pop that up for you real fast here. When we look at the intensity models here, I mean, the vast majority of everything's wanting to go a little feisty. I want to say like a little feisty. Are we going Cat 5? Not, no, but we're definitely going strong. Now, I would add the models have backed off on the intensification a little bit, right? Like we've got, there's none of that Cat 5 that we had. Okay. All right, back over here. Okay. All right. Now over to the ensembles. Start with the GFS ensemble. We'll go back. Multi-member pressure. All right. Low locations. The GFS, what's so interesting is, again, like the deterministic GFS, and this is where it's so interesting, right? Because the deterministic GFS had it going east. The consensus of the ensemble, though, is more west, right? So, once again, this is why ensembling is so pivotal in tropical forecasting. Because even the GFS is like, well, it's going to go east. And then the ensembles are like, we think it's going to go this direction, right? So there's a prime example of that. And then everything pulls away and does its thing. Now, just for interest, right? Like the GFS ensemble still showing something November 5th ish. So there's something there eventually. All right, let's switch over. Let's look at the European ensemble. I gotta close Microsoft Teams because this application is literally giving me agita. If y'all ever use Microsoft Teams, like it's great until it gives you a heart attack. If I hear that Teams thing one more, and if you have Microsoft Teams, y'all know what I'm talking about. If I hear that noise one more time, I just closed it. So if anybody needs me on Teams, I can't right now. I'm taking a mental health break. All right, Euro ensemble. Okay, very good agreement. Listen, the GFS has a camp that wants to go east, but the majority of the GFS ensemble is west. Here's the European ensemble, west, Jamaica, and then eventual recurvature, right? And I'm not saying west like it's going to hit Florida. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is west like exactly what the National Hurricane Center is forecasting. And this is another one of those examples of I don't even feel sad saying it, but like y'all, National Hurricane Center does such an amazing job. Like this forecast, if you recall, when Jeremy Nelson and I were doing our tracking the tropics, we were like, there were two distinct camps. And oy vey, that was not an easy forecast to go with. Right? So they have done and continue to do such a great job. Such a great job. Christiniak on YouTube says, I'm just dealing with the Teams issues as you speak. Yeah, exactly. Lisa, I totally empathize with your feelings about Teams. Kimmy says, I changed the Teams notification sound yesterday. I just turned it off. I can't. Like literally, as soon as I logged into my computer this morning to do coffee talk, and it was going and going and going, and I'm like, nope. Here's the thing I don't mind doing coffee talk on my day off, right? Because I love doing the weather with you guys. This is not work to me. Don't tell my boss, but like I love talking about the weather. I love talking about the weather. You know what I don't love is the Teams noise. So on my day off, I turn the damn thing off. We all need to take those moments, right? We all need to take those moments away. All right. Anyway, so there's Melissa. Hurricane Center has done a great job. I will always, always, always congratulate them on what they do because that is not easy. All right. So Euro ensemblage looking fantastic. If we go to the end of the Euro, that's the 6Z. Let's go to the 0Z. I just want to look. Euro is also showing some hints around the 5th, 6th, 7th of November in the Caribbean. So, yeah, maybe something to watch down the line as well. All right, Euro AI. Consistent West. And then, yeah, all right. All right. So, again, just in looking at all this raw data, all this to say that um, the ensembles, and again, this is the 0Z, we're getting new stuff now, but 360 ensemble members, and there's a second one that's like close, but there's one that's taking it into Florida. The expectation is not going to be a Florida landfall here. The expectation, unfortunately, is going to be a very significant impact. Patty, you're not wrong. That there's going to be a very significant impact to our friends down in Jamaica, a very significant impact. That's the worry, right? So let's do a couple things here. All right, let's look at. I'm going to do this. Easiest way to do this. All right, European. What is it? It's 12Z. Let's pull this up. The old graphics package. I'll have to tweak it around. All right, so the 12Z is just running. So let's pull up the 6Z. I'm just going to do this Euro models 6Z run. I know it's the old graphics package. Don't at me. I'll fix it. Just a second. Nope. 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 That. All right. This is the 6C. What model was this? Crud, I forgot. Come on. This is the Euro 6C. Euro model 6C run. Euro model 06Z run. Okay. I'm converting it to the new graphics package on the fly. If you guys Mercator. It's the Mercator projection. Go back to Mercator. And then the labels. If you guys don't like the making of the sausage, then I apologize. You have come to the wrong place. All right. There is this graphic in the new graphics package. Perfect. All right. So this is the European model. All right. 60 run. So this is going to be the most recent of. So we see the European model developing the storm, right? Now, what I do like with the Euro is that it keeps the hurricane force winds off of the coastline of Jamaica as frankly as long as it can, I feel like, The rain is I mean, but look at that, look at how this is going to be Sunday afternoon. There's 4 p.m. That's a beast of a storm system there. That is a beast of a storm system. And especially on the south side of the island there. I mean, it's going to keep gusty, but it's keeping the absolute worst of the weather off the shoreline until it doesn't, right? So that's Monday. During the day, Tuesday is when it goes. That's as far, it looks like, as the 6Z. Yeah, that's as far out as the 6Z run goes. Save this view. All right, so that's a 6Z run. Let me do this. Let me take the banner with winds. Copy that. That's the 60 euro. Let's go back to the 0Z euro. Did it load? No, I loaded the 60 again. Let's just load the 0Z. I just want to see because the 0Z will go out further. And of course, I do have to convert this to the new graphics package. Don't hate me, you all. Give me a second. This one will be a little quicker. We'll load you. Go to the Mercator projection because I am such a cartography snob. Automatic labels. Here's 2025 and load the camera. And we'll do that view. Okay, perfect. All right. So this is it's not the 6Z though. I need to change that to the 0Z. Perfect. Okay. All right. So let's look at the 0Z. Come on. Think. All right. So it keeps it off. And then, yeah, what's interesting is that basically the blues that you're seeing, it goes off of the color table that I've built. Um, in terms of wins. So don't, I need to build probably a higher color table, but that's for another day. So based on though the long range version of the European, right? The 0Zs is the longer range. It's got the weather getting rough Tuesday night 11 p.m. and then the Euro's raw data brings the hurricane 100-mile-an-hour winds across. Look at that, though. That's going to be an extended. It's picking up 7 a.m. Wednesday. The worst of the weather starts on the southern tip of the island there, 7 a.m. Wednesday, and goes all the way through 2:30 Thursday. So you're looking at almost 24 hours, at least according to this run of the European. You're looking at 24 hours of hurricane conditions possible. So, and again, we don't have this completely dialed in, right? Like we need to wait and see because the models, when we've got this slow meandering of the storm system, the Hurricane Center doesn't have landfall at the moment. Okay, it's important to note that the official forecast from the National Hurricane Center has the center of circulation kind of dancing around the island, right? But at any, there could be a nudge. Remember, the line is the important part. The line is the important part. So essentially anywhere in there. That's where we're confident it's going to go. Okay. If this plays out, they're going to get the squally weather, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Goya says direct hit possible. Yet, they're in the cone. And I've always said I'd rather be in the cone at the end of it than at the beginning of it and the middle of it. And that's kind of where they're at. So, yeah. I will also add that, being in the Caribbean, everybody that lives in these islands knows these threats, and we don't love that. Matt, what does Futurecast do with Melissa? All right, let's look at Futurecast. So it's 12Z, so we'll be just starting to get the 12Z data, so I can pull up the 6Z. Futurecast model. Give me a second. I have to take the old graphics package out. It's not the Euro model, it's the Futurecast model. Futurecast model 6Z. All right. Then we have to change the Earth from one shade of blue to another shade of blue. Mercator projection. And the labels need to be the new all caps labels. Come on. All right. There we go. Now this is the new graphics package. Perfect. Come on. Where's my mouse? All right. So here's Futurecast. So watch, right off the bat, Futurecast is wanting to go crazily. Like it's wanting to throw hurricane force winds together this afternoon. I don't know that I'm going to buy that necessarily. Like the thing is not all that beautifully organized right now. You know what I mean? Like satellite imagery on this storm system. It's not exactly. It's wanting to get organized, and it may even be trying to form that low um, deep enough to get an eye. It's kind of looking that way actually. But Futurecast is definitely a bit strong. And I would also add before I even go, let's just like, where's the intensity on this? Let's pull up the intensity models. So the intensity models, even on the stronger side of them, it's not really until like late tomorrow that they cross that threshold into hurricane. Now again, rapid intensification is a possibility. Water temperatures here are very very hot, so that is certainly in the realm of possibility. But we also have hurricane hunters there, so let's do this. Let's just look and see what the hurricane hunter data is showing right now. Yeah, like best way to review the data is to review the data. All right, so they take off from the ABCs. All right, so they're going in for another core punch here shortly. I would be curious to see what they find in there, right? Like they're on the south side. So the lowest pressure they found was 1,003. The highest wind they found was 54. So I will be curious to see what they find. Notice 1,003 they found up here. This theoretically is a it looks like it's an I type feature trying to develop. So they found 1,003 up here in this spot, but notice where they are here, they've got 1,004 millibars. So it may be that there's a secondary low trying to form and trying to deepen and become the parent low, right? And that makes sense. It's not like this is a painfully organized system just yet. It's going to get there, but it's not there just yet, right? So, I will be very curious to see what they find in this section. We've been tagging this as the low. This section is the low. But it looks like there is probably a secondary that's probably trying to become the parent low. And once that happens, and it looks like that's probably happening, once that happens, listen, Futurecast may not be crazy. It may be that it develops that secondary low and then goes to town. Lucy Mini Force on YouTube says 209 people are watching this on YouTube. On all platforms, we have about 1,000 people watching this. We're streaming this on 5 different platforms this morning. So yeah, there's there, YouTube is not my biggest platform, just being honest with you. I mean, I love my folks that are watching on YouTube, but that's not where the majority of the people watch. So, all right. So our model brings it to hurricane intensity today. And oh man, I mean it goes crazy. Look at that. And that's as far out as it goes. At least the 6Z run. Kind of has it stalled out right between Jamaica and Hispaniola. Again, it's out on its own. It's definitely a little bit different than official models. It's definitely not official models, but official forecast. So take it as it is with with a grain of salt. But I want to keep watching the Hurricane Hunter data because I want to see what they're finding as they're trucking through this kind of secondary area. The last burst of data we got from the Hurricane Hunter was at 8:25, so it's been about 10 minutes. So I would suspect we should get some new data here shortly. Yeah. Deborah on Facebook says, I love your updates, Mr. Burst. Thank you, Deborah. Mickey Smith, we love you too. Thank you. I appreciate you. Diane says, that's a beautifully developed storm as it develops. I mean, it's. All right, so we did just get a new burst of data from the Hurricane Hunters. I want to look and see. From 25, average surface wind was 50. All right, but what was the pressure? So they found 1,004. All right, so technically, so that's what's happening here. That's what's happening is it's developing a secondary low. The actual low is still right here. I mean, that's the low. They found 1,003 millibars there, but it's forming another low in here. And what's probably going to end up happening is it's going to shed that one. It's going to get this one, and then as soon as it does, as soon as it ejects the other low, it's going to focus on its new one, and that's when the intensification starts. And as a matter of fact, if we read the updates from the National Hurricane Center, okay, let's just read. Melissa, sweet Melissa. All right, at 8 a.m., the center of Tropical Storm Melissa was located a slow drift toward the northeast and north is expected to begin later today tonight. A westward drift then forecast. The forecast track, center of Melissa is expected to move near or just south Jamaica by early next week. All right, so that's that. Let's look at the actual discussion. All right, so this is the forecast discussion. You all have the ability to read this, okay? Let me do this. Mm-mm-mm. Oh, I don't have it set up. Never mind. Okay. All right. You have the opportunity to read this. You go to the National Hurricane Center's website, and it is displayed there. Okay. For all intents and purposes, Melissa is nearly stationary, and this is 5 a.m. They put this out at the 5 and 11s, so the major, the main forecasts. Melissa is nearly stationary. Estimated center has been adjusted a bit based on scotometer data from last evening, but wind direction data from buoy 42058 suggests the circulation could still be a bit elongated. That's kind of what we're finding there. Several deep convective bursts. Embedded within the overall cloud canopy, an Air Force recon mission should provide a more accurate estimate in a couple of hours, which is what you're looking at right there. With Melissa's location within a with Melissa located within a break in the mid-level ridge, the steering currents remain weak, which is why it's not moving, okay? Track models suggest that some meandering or a slow northeast-north drift is likely to occur over the next 24 hours. By Saturday, there will likely just be enough mid-level ridging building north of the storm to cause it to begin moving westward, because that's what's blocking. So the ridging is what's blocking it from coming here. So that's what will allow it to start moving west. What's most noteworthy is that several reliable models, including the Euro HCCA and the Google DeepMind Ensemble, have shifted southward during this period. The new NHC forecast reflects the slight shift, but it's important to note that several other models continue showing the center getting perilously close to or over Jamaica in 2 to 3 days. Slow recurvature is forecast in days 4 or 5, with it potentially moving near western Jamaica and approaching southeastern Cuba by early Wednesday. Interestingly, the 0Z Euro keeps Melissa south or southwest of Jamaica through day 5, but it appears to be an outlier compared to other guidance. So, what's nice about these discussions is that we have the opportunity to know exactly what the National Hurricane Center is thinking. And think about it. I'm plotting live recon data on the screen as we're talking about that. Nick says live, real time, in flight data with Eric giving us the view, the vision, the summaries, the possibilities. My God, this is cutting edge. We are so fortunate to have you. Thank you. Thank you, Nick. I appreciate you. And I would go further as to say, technology's wild, isn't it? Like, this really is something. Okay. All right. Strong westerly shear continues to affect Melissa, but there are some indications the shear could gradually decrease over the next 24 to 36 hours. At the same time, as that shear comes down, high ocean heat content values and strong divergence help to induce strengthening. So, in other words, it's ventilating the storm. Hot water is feeding the storm as shear comes down. That's why we have a high confidence that this will develop, right? That's a really good sausage. I mean, that's straight. These are the words from the National Hurricane Center, which is so great. They comment. There's fairly strong agreement among the intensity models that a period of rapid intensification could begin in about 24 hours. I showed that to you, and I'll show it again right here, just so that you know that's what they're discussing. That rapid intensification Saturday into Sunday. We see that upward tick in the models. There is less model agreement on Melissa's intensity after 48 hours. In order to maintain continuity with previous forecasts, the NHC prediction is near the top end of the guidance envelope and close to the Google DeepMind Ensemble mean. Other models show flattening or decreasing intensity after 48 hours, but that is likely due to scenarios that account for more land interaction. So yes, so that makes total sense. That's absolutely correct. That's why these models on some of those paths are going down because they're accounting for more land interaction. One thing that they pointed out was continuity. Important to note that the National Hurricane Center has continuity limits from forecast to forecast. They can't go crazy with adjustments. They're just not able to. So continuity does play into both their intensity forecasting and their position forecasting. So that's important to know. Okay? All right, so that's where we're at. Okay, so I mean, that gave us a really beautiful look inside the National Hurricane Center's forecast package, and the understanding of where it is. All right, questions based on that information that we just got from them. Jay's asking, where is this thing expected to be next Friday? Um, yeah, that's a really loaded question. But I could tell you it's probably Bahamas or moving away from the Bahamas. I mean, I can pop up ensembles, right? Next Friday, what is it? Halloween? Here. There's next Friday. All those green areas are potential locations of it, right? So there you go. Spaghetti plots. This is the grand ensemble, Celeste. This is looking at all the ensemble, 360 ensemble members. So there you go. All right. All right. Questions, comments, concerns about this before I move and discuss our local forecast. Colleen says, I'm on Star of the Seas heading back to Port Canaveral. Can we expect the next 2 days as far as rough seas? I have no idea where the Star of the Seas is, but we're not too bad. Genuinely, right now, the seas are not too bad. Okay. Jen's asking, is Jamaica expected to close the airports? I would say, depending on how close this thing gets. Yeah. Depending on how close this thing gets to you, I would imagine that they will. Yeah. All right. Questions, comments, concerns? All right. Will Melissa throw humidity our way? If anything, Melissa actually would probably help to really improve our forecast. So take a look at our 7-day forecast. Truth be told, this is beautiful. Like, look at what we've got heading into next week, right? Um, Showers around Sunday, sure, maybe even a few thunderstorms into Monday. And then look at next week's forecast. Highs in the 70s and 80s, and morning lows looking just wildly beautiful. We're supposed to fly into Thursday, and I'm sure we won't be though. Are you talking about to Jamaica, Jen? You got to say it because I don't know. I'm going to the Bahamas and Mexico on Sunday. Wow, those are two wildly different places. Um, Matt, if a new low forms further south, how much could that change the models? Not the steering, we're expecting it to meander, and all the models are accounting for this meandering. So it wouldn't be, I don't think, significant. But each change changes things. A small change now changes wildly down the road, which is why when it comes to tropical models, you try to account for that by using ensembling, right? Yeah. All right. By the way, this morning, can we just talk about this for a minute? Like this morning, 55 degrees by next Friday. All I'm saying is, like, that's so nice. Halloween. Can we talk about Halloween for a second? Early look at trick or treaters. Look at how beautiful this forecast is looking at the moment. Well, sure, this will adjust. And if you're curious, that's an AI generated background because that's the world we live in. Patty, have you shut off your pool heater yet? I have not. No, 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 no. I was in the thing yesterday. It's 90 degrees right now. I do. Looking at this forecast, though, I do feel like I'm getting to turn off the heat weather. Yeah. Probably going to end up that direction here pretty soon. All right. Questions, comments, concerns? I can thrive. I can thrive 55. Yeah, I got you. Shelly is asking, is it safe to go to the Turks and Caicos? I mean, I would say for right now, probably not. I mean, probably not. Where does the grand ensemble, where does the mean of all these ensemble plots take Melissa? The Bahamas or the Turks and Caicos? I would say that if you've got vacation plans to the Bahamas next week, very much watching this, whether you're a cruiser or otherwise. Now, by next Friday, this should be pulling away. But during the week next week, Bahamas cruises have to watch. Turks and Caicos have to watch. You know, definitely something there, right, Matt? Yeah, I didn't name it the Grand Ensemble. I think it's hilarious that he did. I love it. I've never met Tomer Berg, but dude has put some great forecasting material together. Right? All right. Are we good? Are we good? We've got some really nice weather ahead. Really nice weather ahead for us. Man, I love this. Mm. All right, one last look at the recon data. Cruises are probably not going to cancel their itineraries, but I would say that they're probably going to be, modifying them. All right, let's look. 1,005, 1,006, 1,004. I'm just looking. All right, so they found 54-mile-per-hour winds on the north side. Yeah. All right. So clearly they're looking. They're looking to try and find, this is a fairly erratic recon mission that we're watching here. And I don't mean that like the pilots are not knowing what they're doing. Quite the opposite. What they're looking for is they're trying to find the elongation in the low. They're trying to find exactly they're trying to see if it's an elongated low or if it's closing off in a spot. They're really doing this beautiful analysis. And what's awesome is that this beautiful analysis goes right into our computer models and gives us a fantastic, fantastic eye in uh, to what's going ahead. So all of our computer models hopefully will continue to get better and better with all of this recon data. And may I also add that these folks, like, we don't get political on Coffee Talk. But can I just add, the people that are in this tropical storm are doing so without getting paid, right? Just throwing that out there. Just throwing that out there. The air traffic controllers that cleared this to take off are not getting paid. The forecasters that are putting out the forecast cone are not getting paid. The folks that are maintaining the supercomputers in the government facilities, they're probably contractors, they're probably getting paid. But you get my point. So the next time that you think about complaining about a forecast or whatever, all I'm trying to say is just understand there's a lot of people that are doing work to try and save lives or to keep us safe. The men and women in uniform across the world are not getting paid. How many? I see Cole. I'm not getting political here. Takes two to tango. Politics operates on two sides of an aisle. So I'm not getting political. All I'm saying is these folks are not getting paid. And I will not forget that what they're doing is saving lives across the planet. The people of Jamaica don't have a hurricane center that I'm aware of. They're working with the National Hurricane Center in the United States, who's not getting paid. And it's the National Hurricane Center's forecasts that are going to at least warn folks. What about Cuba? What about the Dominican Republic and Haiti? What about the Bahamas, the Turks and Caicos? They're depending on our good folks down in Miami. And they are so good at their job. That's all. That's all. All right. Thank you all. Be the sunshine in someone else's day. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you